to 24. It was only 61 to 24. But it was a great moment for Poca High School. Pastor Rittenhouse and his family were on vacation, traveling along the highway, when they saw a suitcase fly off the top of a car going the opposite direction. They stopped to pick it up, but the driver of the other car didn't stop. The only clue to the driver's identity was a $20 gold piece that had an inscription on it, given to Otis Sampson at his retirement by the Portland Cement Company. After extensive correspondence, Otis Sampson was located and contacted. He wrote a letter telling them to throw away the suitcase and all of its contents and send him only the gold piece. Mr. Sampson used the phrase, "my most precious possession," several times to describe that gold piece. Pastor Rittenhouse sent the gold piece and sent it with a cover letter telling Otis Sampson about his most prized possession, namely Jesus Christ. A year later, Pastor Rittenhouse got a package in the mail at Christmas time. In it was that $20 gold piece and a letter from Mr. Sampson. You will be happy to know we have become active members of the church. We want you to have this gold piece. I am 74. My wife is 72. You were the first one to tell us about Jesus. Now he is our most prized possession. What is your heart's most prized possession? Your life and health depend upon the condition of your heart. Several parts of the body you can do without, but you can't live without your heart. As Otis Sampson discovered, a life is far better when your heart is right with God. The Old Testament scriptures make no mention of the brain, as the heart was considered to be the center of intellectual activity. We see this in Scripture and in Christian witness. When the Lord chose David to replace King Saul, he called David a man after his own heart. Psalm 139:23. Prayer. Search me, O God, and know my heart. St. Augustine, that great early Christian leader from North Africa, born in 354 AD, prayed like this: our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee. The proverb teaches that when we hear words of wisdom, like cleanliness is next to godliness, we become an essential part of one's thoughts. It is appropriately said of a person who has a spirit of compassion and kindness toward others that her or his heart is in the right place. On the other hand, a person who cherishes feelings of bitterness or hatred is said to have an ailing heart. And that may be the worst kind of heart trouble. Wrong emotions can have a disastrous effect on a person's health. The spirit of envy can destroy human relationships. It may very well be damaging to one's body and life. Bitterness brings pain to other people, but it leaves its worst scars in the person who harbors the bitterness. Verses 23 and 24 suggest that if you are careful to keep your heart right with God, you won't go around spouting crooked speech with your mouth. And verses 25, 6, and 7 tell us there's healing for us when we cherish beautiful emotions of hope and peace and love and kindness and trust. The Christian's vision must stay focused on Jesus and his way of life. The obvious message here is that we must always be alert to keeping our hearts guarded from sin. So our faith guides us on the places we go and the things we do and on what we hear and speak. Doctors tell us that healing occurs most readily in the body of a person with a tranquil mind, one who refuses to harbor a grudge, or one who is not self-centered. When a person's heart is right, it means that his motivation is unselfish, and her innermost longings and desires are in harmony with that person's profession. Today's lesson begins with a message from God. My son, pay attention to what I say. Listen closely to my words. Keep them within your heart. Apostle Paul's letter to the Philippians says it like this. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Such things are good for the soul. Christian folk need to turn away from junk food for the soul and cultivate space and time for thinking on whatever is true, honorable, just, pure, pleasing, and commendable. A proverb says, you cannot keep a bird from flying over your head, but you don't have to let it build a nest in your hair. And so, certainly there'll be times when evil thoughts will pass through your mind, but don't keep them there and concentrate on them. Jesus spoke about the purity of heart. That purity needs to be guarded with all diligence. Psalm 46:10 says, be still and know that I am God. Sometimes we simply cannot hear what God has to say to us because we're so busy and so loud. Someone has said, and it has a certain ring of truth to it, it's impossible for a worthwhile thought to enter your mind through an open mouth. I confess I need to cultivate my listening skills, like this little short poem suggests. His thoughts were slow, his words were few, and never formed to glisten. But he was a joy to all his friends. You should have heard him listen. You've heard me say, and I'm certain of it, Jesus is a gentleman. Yet he humbly stands at the door of our hearts and taps gently, saying, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone will open and invite me in, I will come in. We will enjoy sweet fellowship together. And what is required but that you believe in Jesus, turn from sinful ways, and accept his invitation. Let's practice stillness today as we come to the table. Perhaps you'll hear